This is Roboquest, the roguelite tale of a girl and a robot destroying other robots in the upbeat post-apocalypse. Developed by RyseUp Studios and published as well by RyseUp with Starbreeze, Roboquest has been in early access in the last few years, but caught my attention when it kept popping up in my comments. So when it recently left early access for the 1.0 release, I decided to give it a shot, and when I sat down for my first play session, 4 hours went by in the blink of an eye, and I was like, oh yeah, we're making this video. So today I will be lending my thoughts on Roboquest and why you need to be playing it. So let's pick a class, gear up, and get blasting. Roboquest takes place in the year 2750. While traveling through the desert, a young scavenger comes across an old busted robot. After she fixes him up, the robot springs to life and invites the scavenger to join him on his quest. His Roboquest, to save humanity from a fiendish virus. From there, they battle through the ruins of old Earth, demolishing evil robots with a vast arsenal and finding more robo-companions to help them out. It's an adorable story that's adorably portrayed, and players can dive deeper into it if they choose, making for a lighthearted experience that perfectly complements the arcade action of this game, with beautiful artwork and graphics to go along with it. Roboquest visuals are vibrant and charming, with an art direction emulating a graphic novel. You could say it feels like a cross between Borderlands and Overwatch, although it certainly has a personality all its own. While Robo uses the typical cell shading to sell its look, with thick black edge lines reading like ink, it takes things a few steps further with subtle hatching and Ben-Day dots to characterize the vivid textures. Ben-Day dots is that gradient you see in a lot of traditional comics. I learned they were called that while making this video. There are great small touches that add to this. Gunfire and reloading bring onomatopoeia lettering, and sprinting features subtle speed lines on the edges of the screen. Enemies also have brief lightning bolts above their heads when attacking, giving them a bit of expression as well as a tell for players. There's an awesome variety of environments, each with a distinct whimsical vibe and a fantastic amount of detail. The hub world, for instance, is full of small, goofy details that help give a sense of this game's bright and bubbly character. Animations are smooth and springy, which is not only appropriate for the art direction, but great for the game feel. Cutscenes are portrayed in 2D, but are animated beautifully, and the artwork is clean and superb. I would happily read this graphic novel if it existed. As for the music, well, it's nothing short of filthy magic. Composed by Noise Scream, an appropriate name for them, this game's tracks are a delightful symphony of hard electronic beats and guitar riffs, running the gamut of EDM genres, and they're a joy to cut footage to. Look, I'm a sucker for this kind of music, and when it's done well and perfectly complements the gameplay, it makes me happier than a golden retriever in a pile of leaves. I love that feeling of synchronicity. I have nothing negative to say about it. In fact, I have nothing negative to say about the presentation in general. Well, other than performance. Roboquest ran well on my system for the most part, but I did find the frame rate to be erratic. In heavy combat with lots of effects, my frames were bouncing all over the place. 144 to 110 to 120 to 105 to 130. Certainly playable, but pretty jittery, which is not ideal in a Twitch fest such as this. Of course, doing some settings tweaks helped this, but unfortunately there's no option to just lock the frame rate down. So for those who are sensitive to frames, this is something to keep in mind. On the flip side though, I'm pretty sure Roboquest is the one Unreal Engine game I've played this year that didn't have the fatal error crash. So big thumbs up to that. Roboquest's gameplay structure isn't going to be anything new for fans of roguelites, but it's rich in content and stuffed with surprises. You begin each run by choosing one of 6 robo classes, each with differing abilities, and take them through a series of randomized areas crowded with evil robots begging to be destroyed. Massacring the machines earns you experience that will earn you perks particular to your Robo class, granting a whole slew of buffs. You'll also be collecting special loot that can be spent on more perks, new weapons, or upgrade the weapons you already have. At the end of each area, you are thrown into a tricky Robo boss fight, putting your Robo build to the test. And in between runs, you'll be able to purchase upgrades at the workshop, either boosting your base stats or improving the quality of your upgrades during the next run. Starting with the shooting, mechanically Roboquest doesn't really do anything new or different compared to other shooters, but what it does to the highest quality. The combat is superb, the feel of weapons, the responsiveness, the speed at which you can swap, the precision of movement, all of it, chef's kiss. This is the sort of game feel that's smooth like butter but hits hard like a wrecking ball, making every skirmish nothing but satisfaction. Fans of movement shooters may find it a bit stiff in some regards. There's no dash or wall running, and the slide mechanic is nothing to write home about. But those who love arena shooters or more traditional FPS experiences are likely to have big grins on their faces. Each Robo class is distinct in that they have a unique sub-attack and special ability. The initial class, the Guardian, is fairly straightforward, with a basic melee attack and temporary shield. But as you progress, you'll find the Commando that blasts a mini shotgun and fires a rocket. Along with the Ranger that can cloak himself for stealth attacks, as well as the Engineer that can send out attack drones. And many of the perks you earn are meant to improve these abilities in big ways. The Engineer I mentioned, his perks largely focus on improving his drones, giving them special weapons, shielding, elemental damage, faster cooldowns, etc. It's awesome and provides some solid variety to the gameplay, keeping boredom at bay and giving you a sense of ever-growing power. Like I said, none of this is all that new or different, but it's all executed amazingly and makes for a highly approachable, entertaining FPS experience. Don't let Roboquest's cute, colorful exterior fool you though. It can be freaking tough. An experienced FPS player will likely be able to handle the first couple zones with no problem, but it's that third zone, the fields, that will put some hair on your chest. With swarms of projectiles, hidden turrets, and aggressive charging enemies that will be happy to humble you. Not to mention the gunships that are pretty much mini-bosses, and the following areas only get tougher. It's a good, fun challenge though, the kind of push I want from first-person shooters and roguelites, the kind that can be overcome with practice and experience with the game. Roboquest also features co-op for up to 2 players, which is fantastic and a hell of a good time. Plus, it's nice to have someone revive you when the later missions start kicking your ass. But man, it's a bummer we don't have support for 4-player. Now, granted, these levels were clearly designed to have 2. 4 players would be a crowded mess, and God knows what that would do to the performance. But if there was one thing I would ask for in a future update, expansion, or sequel, it would be 4-player co-op. I just feel like having more buddies in this would be a goofy good time. The arsenal is gigantic. Have a favorite type of FPS weapon? It's probably here. Throwing knives, carbines, mortars, shotguns, energy weapons, a shovel. Honestly, it would be easier to say what weapons this game doesn't have. It's absurd, and they come in a whole slew of variants. Akimbo, various forms of elemental damage, differing fire rates. And as you get further into a run, the weapons only get more elaborate and devastating. Frankly, the way the arsenal is handled is comparable to something like Borderlands. Not as vast as that, but in the ballpark. And all of them handle great. Sure, I had my preferences and weapons I chose to avoid, but even if I was stuck with something I didn't love, I still found them effective and well designed. Roboquest levels are designed for speed and scrappy combat, best described as a series of twisty, turning canyons leading into more open arenas where players can easily get overwhelmed if stationary. Throughout each are easy-to-use grind rails that will rocket you through them, greatly adding to the game's sense of speed. And yes, speedrunning is 100% a factor here. But the maps also give the player the freedom to go about them their own way, with geometry encouraging them to platform to higher positions and snipe, or bottleneck enemies if they need to be more defensive. There's perks and trade-offs to playing it fast or taking your time. Throughout each level, you'll come to safe zones where you can heal up, collect new weapons, or upgrade the ones you already have. These safe zones also serve as junction points where you can choose your next level. Initially, these alternate pathways are locked off, but as you progress and get them opened up, you'll find common runs bring a lot of choice in how they can play out, with specific challenges to encourage you to switch things up. Roboquest is a game that rewards curiosity because it is overflowing with secrets. Hidden collectibles, sure, but also elaborate ones that may require some out-of-the-box thinking, as well as the specific abilities of your Robo classes. I don't want to give away too much, but take my advice. If you see something out of the ordinary, investigate it, no matter how small. Within each area, you'll also find mysterious exits requiring some puzzle solving, leading to special zones and challenges. Once again, I don't want to give too much away, but these are absolutely worth your time. For me, the way the game handles its secrets is comparable to something like the old Super Mario platformers and classic Castlevania games. Just when you think you've seen everything, you find something off the beaten path that adds even more depth to the experience and keeps you in for more hours of fun. I love this game. Roboquest is so freaking fun. As I said, it doesn't necessarily do anything new, but what it does do, it does extremely well, and is the sort of pure gaming experience that keeps you glued for hours and hours. It gets my full recommendation. This is easily one of the best games I've reviewed this year. Do yourself a favor and check this one out. What are your thoughts on Roboquest? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and smack that bell. If you want to come say hi, my Discord is linked below, along with my affiliate links. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.